Hello. Welcome to the Michael Sisco show. Welcome back. It's going to be a fun one today. I changed up because I still can't get the lighting right and I still have holes on occasion going through my forehead. Figure, I'll just have fun. We'll change the background. I think here we have, and maybe I'll do this every week where I just have a historical photo as the background. But we have the coup for Napoleon. The Napoleon coup d'etat, however you say it. Anyways, as we wait for more people to join the stream, let me set up my super chats. Please help with super chats. We got some big announcements that will be occurring in the next month. Next month, huge announcement on my part. 1 second, I don't have my headphones in, so we're gonna get some echo from the Entropy, but hang tight. Gotta get some playback noise if it ever wants to load. So up here it goes. There it is. So I'm gonna throw that link. But anyways, welcome to the show. We do have a big announcement, as I was saying, next month. It's gonna be pretty big, pretty huge. Might have some implications for all of us, really. And I hope to have your support in that announcement. I don't want to say what it is yet. Some of you know, some of you close to me that are going to be helping me with it. But there is something big coming, and I could really use your support, especially this endeavor that I will announce next in about 4 or 5 weeks will come at great cost, both personally and I could use all the help I can get. So Entropy Chats go a long way towards that. And the highest giver of today's stream will get to come on any episode. Come on the show next week for 10 minutes if you want. So that's the prize for giving the highest Entropy Chat. Doesn't count for YouTube because I'd rather you send it through Entropy. Why? Because I keep more of it, and I still haven't really had access to my YouTube money. So I still have holes in my face. But yeah, big things coming next month. I don't really want to hint at what it is, but I can definitely use your support up until then. But anyways, so Orthodox in Dialogue, they put out a nice little hit piece on me earlier in the month. I think it was actually February 2nd. I didn't hear about it until 2 days later when Real Med White made a response video to it, which he didn't really respond. He didn't even really get into anything about me or any of the accusations. He just kind of pivoted towards, well, these are the people saying this, and he started talking about this transgender person that also writes for Sodomy and Dialogue, which is the proper thing to call them. They do promote sodomy quite a bit. Anyways, this article about me was written by a lady named Lydia Bringerud, and she evidently has a PhD in folklore. So obviously she still writes folklore, or fiction, I should say. But let me try and screen share. Hopefully the audio stays okay during screen share. Share audio. Man. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's. Got that. Is the screen share working? Yes. Alrighty. So here's the article. Now check out this headline. Michael Sisco, White Supremacy and Loyalty in the Orthodox Church by Lydia Bringerud. I don't want to read the whole thing, but because it's, but she starts out talking about an NPR interview with some neo-Nazi who claimed that, that we basically were trying to make stuff more, that white nationalists and neo-Nazis are trying to facelift the movement, have better optics, whatever. And obviously the implication is, although she never quite, in this article, she never calls me a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi or anything like this. She does say I'm in an alt-right network with Jay Dyer, David Patrick Harry, Michael Witkoff, and I'm not sure if anyone else. Oh, Luke Kindrat. And she said, we recruit people, alt-right types, to Orthodoxy, which I thought was funny. So you're recruiting people to hell, and you're outing us for bringing people to the church. So I appreciate the shout out from Lydia. But anyway, she never actually calls me any of this stuff. It's just like clever. That way she can say, weasel her way out of it. Let's say I was to like file a lawsuit, which I can't really do, I don't think, because I'm a public. I don't know. It would probably be a difficult case, but let's say I was going after her for libel or something of the sort. She never calls me any of these things. She just puts my name, comma, white supremacy, and loyalty in the Orthodox Church. So, and she never really labels me. She just kind of like surrounds my name with all of this stuff, and it's obviously intended to smear me as such, but without actually doing it. Let me check the chats. Is there? AJ37 says Lydia is hitting on you. Karamasi out. Just tell her you are a Latino. I could say, Sisco could be a Spanish name, I guess. My last name is actually a misspelling of a Slavic name, but like if it was actually Sisco, the way that it's written, it would be of Spanish origin, or if it was spelled with a C, it would be of Italian origin. So either way. But the first thing, let me see if I can find it in here. She says that, okay, Michael Sisco is a young Orthodox Christian who is engaged in many of the activities described by Picciolino. So I guess she does say, because she implies that I am a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi, whatever this Picciolini was in his interview with NPR. I have not had the opportunity to interview Sisco, but he created and writes for Saints Edward Media, where he describes himself as an Orthodox Christian, a nationalist, and a traditionalist, and he has a podcast from which we can gather some of his views. Many of these, in my opinion, are harmful for Americans in general, but for Orthodox Christians specifically. Readers of Orthodoxy in Dialogue will remember Sisco from a November article about his petition to the U.S. Assembly of Bishops to carry on conducting in-person services in defiance of state and local restrictions. It is concerning that he does not believe that COVID-19 poses a serious threat to humankind, and he is an anti-vaxxer. First, thanks for the shout out and the directing people to my podcast and my website. Promise to post more articles soon. We need to get more consistent with content on saintsedwardmedia.com. But I never said that. I mean, okay. So yes, COVID is real. I believe COVID's real. I actually had COVID. I've never said it isn't serious. What I have maintained from the very beginning is that the measures in response to it are excessive, and that arguably our response to COVID-19 is more deadly and causes more death and suffering than the virus itself. And what I even in my petition, and when I was writing somewhere about the petition, or maybe it was on my show, I mentioned that I would like the opportunity to receive the Eucharist in the face of danger, just as the early church martyrs risked their lives to receive communion. So in that statement there, I'm actually acknowledging the seriousness of COVID-19. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm anti this vaccine for several reasons, which I did an entire episode on. One, it took 6 months, less than a year to develop. That in and of itself should be enough for you not to want the vaccine for a disease in which the fatality rate is relatively low. There's evidence that it causes infertility in women. There is, based on some of the writings and rhetoric coming from some of the funders of this, there's also more reasons to distrust it, like with quantum or digital tattoo, the stuff that Bill Gates wanted to do. And there's a Rice University article about this and the things that he wanted to insert. And I don't know that they're in there for sure, but when you trace the people, where the money's coming from, where the funding's from, it's not good. And I do support medical freedom. I think that everybody should be able to decide for themselves what they put in their body. Nothing should be mandatory. And I don't think that's an unreasonable position to have. So anyways, let's check the chats really quick before we go on. Nothing there. Nothing in Entropy. So, all right. Of equal or greater concern is his burgeoning career in politics. He was hired in 2019 by Iowa congressional candidate Bobby Schilling as a campaign coordinator. In early December of that year, Sisco allowed white nationalist Michael Fuentes to speak at an immigration forum. Fuentes was not on the program, and only Sisco and one other person knew he would be in attendance. Both Schilling and his opponent condemned the remarks made by Fuentes. Schilling fired Sisco soon after. So, who the heck is Michael Fuentes? That's what I want. Michael Fuentes. So, PhD holder. Can't even get the guy's name right. But I did, in fact. Okay. Scott, first of all, the event was hosted by Scott County Teenage Republicans. Yes, I took credit for inviting Fuentes. Is what was actually in the article exactly as happened? I think at this point in time, it doesn't really matter, but it's not. Yeah, I was aware that Fuentes would be a speaker at the event. It was not my event. I did not have the ability to solely get Fuentes to be a speaker at an event that was not hosted by me and was not organized by me, but was organized and hosted by the Scott County Teenage Republicans. Now, the Scott County Teenage Republicans were, in fact, receiving death threats, and I wanted to take some pressure off of them. And so you see the story. Michael Sisco invited Nick Fuentes, and even if you go read the article, so Google Michael Sisco and Bobby Schilling, and the article will come up. That article was on the front page of the paper out in Iowa, the Quad City Times, and just read how ridiculous the story sounds. That I got Dylan Wheeler to cause a disturbance, heckle, and get kicked out so that we could replace him with Nick Fuentes in the period of 10 minutes. And what's the kid's name? The president, Adam Parcell, was the president of the Scott County Teenage Republicans. And that guy gave Nick a 10-minute introduction that was just stellar. And the article says that I wrote that for him. And so between the 10, 15 minutes, whatever the time period was between when Dylan Wheeler got kicked out, I supposedly wrote this 10-minute introduction of Nick Fuentes for Adam Parcell to read. And he read it perfectly. It was rehearsed. It was delivered perfectly. And yeah, so I wrote that, and then he practiced and memorized it within that time frame. Sure. Like I actually can't believe that the media fell for it and that everybody ate the story up. Like that's exactly what happened. But let's see. Oh, Gregory Finn, I appreciate the super chat. Thank you for the $10. Yeah, Karamasa, we'll get to the to that. But hey, I do appreciate the YouTube super chats. But Entropy super chats are much better. And the highest Entropy giver today gets to come on a future episode for 10 minutes. I can only have one person on a night, so I hope that you can come on the next week. But yeah, we're doing that. Let's see, where are we? Oh, and another thing about Fuentes, she calls him a white nationalist. And I would say, for one, he basically, this is like a chain of smears. This is what these people do. They'll smear one person over here, and then anyone who they wish to smear or slander that it has associated with somebody else that they slandered, it's just like a chain. It's like, so we're gonna make up a lot. We're gonna lie about Nick Fuentes, and then we're going to brand Michael Sisco, who is now associated with Nick Fuentes. We're gonna associate him with Nick Fuentes based on what is a lie to begin with. So as far as I know, Nick Fuentes does not advocate for a white ethno-state and the expulsion of non-white citizens. Therefore, he is not a white nationalist. So yes, he does speak on racial issues, especially pertaining to demographic change, but he doesn't take it as far as, and he's quite critical of what he calls Wignats. So he himself is critical of white nationalism. So I mean, it's a tactic. It is what it is. Sisco was next picked up by his ex-girlfriend, Lauren Witzke, then a Republican candidate for one of Delaware's 2 Senate seats. I don't know where they get their information from. Like Sisco, Witzke identifies as Orthodox Christian, but she has also been flagged as a white supremacist, anti-Semitic, and QAnon follower, among other beliefs. Sisco appears to have had some influence on Witzke's positions on some issues. For example, Sisco identifies as a monarchist and has blogged in favor of a Trump kingship. On his podcast, he and his anonymous co-host interviewed Witzke and asked whether she would support this position, and she agreed. Witzke eventually lost her run for Senate, but Michael Sisco is still at large in American politics. So I don't remember ever blogging about in favor of Trump being king. I certainly have never done that. I did write essays. I know I wrote for the American Sun. I wrote essays in favor of monarchy, but they had nothing to do with Trump. Absolutely nothing to do with Trump. On the podcast, these people don't understand what jokes are. As we made a joke about monarchy, and Witzke was like, I don't know. And we're like, but what about King Trump? Because we knew she liked Trump. And she's like, oh, she's like, yes, that'd be great. But even that was a joke. Like, these people they're either completely dishonest or they can't read humor. So I don't know which one it is. Is there anything else worth? And when they say she lost her Senate run, yeah, I mean, it's Delaware. She also got received more votes than any Republican in the history of the state. So there's that. And defeated the GOP endorsed primary opponent. We defeated him. So I think we had quite a few accomplishments on the Witzke campaign. It matters that Michael Sisco is a monarchist and an Orthodox Christian, especially in the current political moment in the United States. The Orthodox Church has a history of enmeshment with nationalist regimes, as many readers will be aware. Sisco's rhetoric is reminiscent of, I can never say his name, Cornelio Cajunot. For example, in his call for a New World Order, which excludes Jewish people and non-white people. When our last president expressed admiration for groups such as the Proud Boys and regimes such as Vladimir Putin's, it is not surprising that some Orthodox Christians who share a vision of the Orthodox Church as a fundamentalist institution should look to Trump as a monarchy figure. Though I do not know definitively whether Michael Sisco himself is a QAnon supporter, he certainly associates with them, and his wish for Trump to be an American monarch echoes the QAnon ideology that he is a messianic figure. I have consistently been critical of the QAnon theory. I've maintained that it is, from the beginning, when I first learned of it, I've always maintained that it is a psyop targeting conservatives, basically, to get them to do nothing. I have said that it's harmless, and that people who follow, and I still agree with that statement, because it didn't drive anyone to violence. It didn't drive anyone to action. In fact, it did quite the opposite. It said, trust the plan and do nothing. It said, we got this, guys. Trust the plan. Don't worry. And even still, the QAnoners are the people who haven't abandoned it, are still, like, their theories are just wild. It's like, don't worry, guys. Trump is still going to be president. We're going to arrest Biden. Whatever theory they're on. Or I think I even heard one that said that they did like a face transplant. But let's see. Yeah, the word Satan means accuser. Interesting. Let's see, nothing. Gregory, entropy and discord are strong words. But let's see here. And then his wish for, is this in this sentence or is this later? But I know she says his wish for Trump to be an American monarch echoes the QAnon ideology that he is a messianic figure. First of all, it was a joke on the podcast with Witzke. I've never, anytime, and I did actually do an interview with BBC, but it was never released. I just trolled the reporters, and I was making, anytime I say I want a King Trump, it was just to make liberals lose their minds. It's a troll. It's a joke, because you don't have any humor. You have no sense of humor. You're humorless, miserable, pathetic people. Now, arguments for monarchy are not putting faith in the person of the monarch. It's about emulating heaven. It is about the fact that it works better. It's like arguments in favor, like political theory. It's not about a messianic character It's about a system that works better. And Lydia here mentions the Orthodox Church has a history of this and that. Well, there's a reason for that. Because the Orthodox Church has what's called a holy tradition. And there's only one form of government that is blessed by the church. And it's not democracy, it's not a republic, it's none of these things. Now, as a Christian, I don't support sedition. I don't think that we can be seditionists. So I don't believe in revolutionary activity in pursuit of destroying the system that we have. I believe that we should utilize what we do have in a peaceful manner, in a civil manner, for the betterment of ourselves. Now, any sort of reform should be done legally in what could be a legal manner. Could a American monarchy come out of what we have now legally? I don't know. The only people that seem to be trying to actively destroy the system and to fundamentally change it is the left. You have especially the anarchist wing and the Marxists. You have the anarchists over at the Emma Goldman types with Antifa. Then you have the Marxists with BLM and the Revolutionary Communist Party, and all these people align on the black bloc to try and destroy this. And then you have, and you can kind of just lump them all together and call them intersectionalists, right? The radical left. And the Democrats, the neoliberals, use them, and then once they have power, they use them to secure power. And then they kind of brush them off to the side, which is why you see Antifa protesting Biden now. But yeah, we're not, as Christians, we're not here to, we cannot morally try and destroy the system, quote unquote. What we can do is oppose the establishment and use legal means, do everything we can legally to disrupt them and to take the system for ourselves through legal means. That's what the system's designed for us to do. Let's see. I think we got a entropy. Is that? I can't tell if that's through entropy or. Oh, that's an entropy chat. Well, thank you, Gregory Finnegan. He says, check out the videos on kingship from YouTube channel Finnish Moose. Cheers. I will. Let me write that down so I can remember. Sounds like someone that might be interested in coming on the show sometime. But I mean, even like acknowledging that monarchy is a good system is for some reason controversial, but it's neither here nor there because we don't live in a monarchy. We live in a republic. And as I said, rate musician, jaded with politics. Don't worry. Next month, you'll be back into it. Orthodoxy chloroquine. Sorry, I missed the start of your video. What exactly does they don't really have anything against me, but we're reading the article. They're basically implying that I'm a white nationalist, white supremacist, alt-righter, and all the normal, But anyways, let's keep going. It matters that Michael Sisco is a monarchist and an Orthodox Christian, especially in the current political moment in the United States. The Orthodox Church has a history. Oh, we already read that. Sorry. Sisco, this is funny. Sisco is part of an alt-right network of individuals who have been actively recruiting alt-right types to the Orthodox Church. So, as I said earlier, she and her friends at Orthodoxy and Dialogue are recruiting people to hell, and we, this supposed network of alt-right Orthodox, which she names, this network includes Sisco, Jay Dyer, David Patrick Harry, and Michael Witkoff. She literally outs us for bringing people to Orthodoxy. For example, Witkoff and Sisco have been guests on each other's podcasts. Witkoff has a YouTube video in which he alludes to a plan to eradicate communist or Marxist clergy who support Black Lives Matter and revolution. So good. He should. This is reminiscent of Sisco's threatening letter to the Assembly of Bishops. In the original version of this letter, he describes creating a list of non-compliant parishes, which was later toned down. So that's actually, I did tone it down because maybe it was a little inappropriate with my tone initially, but I didn't threaten them. I just was going to basically saying, hey, look, we're going to support parishes that, don't withhold access to worship. It was like, we're going to monetarily support these people, and we're going to not support these parishes that are not allowing us, not giving us access to what Christ and his apostles said we should be doing. Let's see. Radio musician, isn't she identified? I don't know if this is the one that is. Yeah, Kara Marcial. I don't know how to, but yes, St. John of Kronstadt did indeed say, hell is a democracy, but heaven is a kingdom. St. John of Kronstadt. So, anyways, let's continue. We know why the Orthodox Church is appealing to people with extremist nationalist views like Michael Sisco. However, a person in general, and an Orthodox Christian in particular, does not have to be an extremist to fall prey to conspiracy theories. So why? I mean, I would like to see her actually answer why the Orthodox Church appeals to extremists, right? What she really means is that the Orthodox Church believes in something called absolute truth, right? And that truth comes from God, and it is immutable, and it doesn't change. And so for people like myself, we acknowledge that, and we pursue truth of, like, that's at the top of the food chain here. Truth to us matters more than what society, what is fashionable, and or even what is considered politically correct. Like, we don't care. If something's true, that's what we want to uphold the truth. We don't care about your feelings. And so, I mean, we're not going to, like, intentionally cause suffering by, like, we're not out to offend you. We are just telling the truth. And if that hurts your feelings, then that's a personal problem. But so we just uphold the truth of orthodoxy, and that makes us extremists because you want to change the faith to adopt it to modern norms, and you think that actually that makes you the extremist here because 2,000 years of precedence is on our side. That makes you the radical, and that makes us normal. Anyways, conspiracy theories find fertile ground in times of great uncertainty, and a diverse array of people can succumb to them. I actually agree with that. But of course, where she's going is, from some members of Congress to Orthodox clergy, and I do not know whether or not Father Mark Hodges is himself a QAnon supporter, more QAnon. They have more of an obsession with QAnon than anyone. The left does. But he has, in my opinion, been duped by misinformation spread by Donald Trump and conspiracy theorists. The rhetoric he has used in his social media posts have been included to link news long since disproven by reputable sources. Yeah, when they say this, what they mean by disproven is just somebody said that it wasn't true, and even though we have video footage that has come out in the actually, since this article published, Gateway Pundit has released video footage of fraudulent ballots being delivered. So, whatever. But everything is a conspiracy theory to these people. Anything that's true and doesn't align with their narrative, conspiracy theory. It is not my opinion that Michael Sisco and Father Mark Hodges share all of the same beliefs. Indeed, I suspect they would disagree about quite a few things. Don't know. Whatever. We must ask ourselves instead what it takes for Orthodox Christians, including at least one priest, to stand shoulder to shoulder with avowed neo-Nazis for the same political event. I don't know who... I don't know of a single avowed neo-Nazi that was there, but I also wasn't there on the 6th. So she's implying that I was standing shoulder to shoulder with Father Mark Hodges on the 6th. I wasn't there. I wish, I wanted to go, and it just didn't, the stars didn't align. It just wasn't going to work. But because I had just moved to the great state of West Virginia, and it just wasn't going to work to go back to DC that quickly afterwards. There was, and let's keep reading. There was, after all, diversity among those who attended Donald Trump's rally on January 6th, as well as the segment of that group who stormed that U.S. Capitol. Did every member of that crowd come for the same reasons, convinced of the same narrative? ? And just from talking to some people that were there, Trump's speech pissed them off. And a lot of those people were angry at Trump, especially the ones that went over to the Capitol. Trump's speech, from what I understand, was a bit of a downer. It was a bit of a black-pilling speech. And so a lot of those people were basically saying F Trump. And I don't get the sense that it was like rah rah Trump by the time they got to the Capitol after Trump basically gave a concession speech. Let's see, any interesting. Let's see. Orthodoxy and chloroquine. It's disgusting that OID are using political names to smear Orthodox Christians. Neither you or anyone else I know are white supremacists or racist. It's pure rubbish. What we're dealing with is heterodox usurping the Orthodox faith. I understand I am like a I'm a low-level political figure, and kind of a religious, not like, I just happen to be Orthodox and vocal about my Orthodox faith, so I can understand how I would, fall under a certain category. Absolute truth is anathema to political lefties of all imaginable sorts. Yep. And Ray says, one of the biggest upsets I had with Orthodoxy was there are still people like this. Well, they're everywhere, Ray. They're everywhere. Especially, you have to expect them to be, because we are the true church. So, of course, the evil one wants to subvert Orthodoxy. Fortunately, these people have not seceded, and they never will. They never will. The gates of hell cannot prevail against us. So, the answer to this, I believe, lies in how all of us filter and prioritize information, both on the internet and in our loyalties. There's a wonderful article written by someone in my field, Robert Glenn Howard, called Vernacular Media, Vernacular Belief, Locating Christian Fundamentalism in the Vernacular Web. First of all, as Orthodox, we aren't fundamentalists, so to like, in the way that she's basically trying to paint us as like Westboro Baptist Church types. He studied two couples who befriended one another on a Christian site despite some divergent beliefs. One couple firmly believes demons built a civilization on Mars after the fall, and the other are more mainstream Protestant Christians. What unites these couples are shared beliefs in the end times, biblical literalism. Because these couples are only connected by one particular website and they live in separate states, they do not have to meet in person or engage deeply on other topics around which they might have disagreement. In fact, as Howard argues, the way we use search engines like Google means that we can filter out ideas contrary to our own. Each one of us does this anytime we use the internet. We filter our search results by means of keywords. We can also do this by limiting our sources of influence in the world, by means of which news sources we trust and which people we trust. So this is like a really roundabout way of saying that, of course I didn't agree with everyone at the Stop the Steal rallies, but we all had a common grievance that the election was stolen, and which more and more evidence, more credible evidence, keeps coming out to affirm that. In the Time article, Time magazine admitted it, and they called it fortifying our democracy. Fortifying our democracy. It's stupid. These people are idiots. Now, I mean, it's gaslighting at its finest. When we say it, when we point out that with the evidence, what's happening, and then we go protest, we're extremists, we're conspiracy theorists, and then they use the same evidence to write an article about how they saved democracy by cheating the election, by changing laws, changing procedures, all the same things that we said they were doing to rig the election. But when they say it, it's fortifying democracy. But when we say it, it's a conspiracy theory. Screw these people, man. Screw these people. QAnon represents an extreme version of this filtering, so much so that it isolates its followers from their communities and even their families. Beyond QAnon, I believe that Donald Trump has been so successful in using his brand that he may have a similar effect on some of his followers. He is famous, after all, for his emphasis on loyalty, both with his staff and with his broader voting base. One thing that is interesting about the left, and I guess if you're the nature of a popular government system, prior to the Enlightenment, and really in a metaphysical Christian worldview, in a world that was under such a classical Christian worldview, loyalty is considered virtuous. And so for it to be twisted into something bad, like the left is doing, emphasizing loyalty shouldn't even really be that should be a given. Duh, you should be loyal. I guess the argument. What is the argument that they're making? Are they arguing that people should be more loyal to a set of ideals, or what? They're not, and they never really specify. They just say, "Oh my God, he emphasized loyalty," which is a virtue. So loyalty, and I don't think that people that were quote unquote loyal to the Trump administration were necessarily just loyal to Trump as a person. I mean, you could be, because Trump represented a different movement. Trump was the embodiment of the America First movement. And so to be loyal to Trump is to be loyal to America First, not because of the the personhood, or Lydia likes to say, the messianic nature of which I do think the QAnon stuff does get into that. It does kind of dip into creating a savior-like figure out of Trump, which I don't think is good. It's not good, and which is why I've never been a supporter of QAnon. And she's trying to paint me as one. She doesn't make a very good case, but let's keep reading. The same behavior is visible in some Orthodox circles. I am reminded of the courage of Archbishop J.O.B. of blessed memory, who was the only bishop in the Holy Synod of the OCA to question some of his brethren about laundering millions of dollars. Their loyalty to one another above the interests of their congregations allowed for financial mismanagement to go unchecked for decades. I am reminded, too, of such figures as Father Josiah Trenum, who commands a similar loyalty among his fan base. Well, yeah, because he's based and tells the truth. So, of course, we like that. For example, I found in an excerpt of one of his lectures in which he blames unbelieving Christians for losing faith over scandal in the church. Yeah, well, all of these are examples of unconditional loyalty. Okay, so there she goes. She says unconditional loyalty, which is not true. Like, some of these, whatever. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, my loyalty is to truth. My loyalty is to truth, not to a person. And I think for Father Josiah Trenum especially is talking about a loyalty to the true faith, to Orthodoxy expressed in its fullness and its traditional, the truth that has never changed, the truth that has been maintained from the beginning of the church. That is what we should be loyal to unconditionally because it is true. Stupid. So, but no, she's true. She's right at this point. Like, we shouldn't be blindly loyal to a jurisdiction and cover up for gross mismanagement of funds. Like, and quite frankly, the OCA is well, no comment. But she says it can encourage a deliberate blind eye among those who might otherwise disagree with financial misconduct, white supremacist attitudes, and discrimination against LGBTQ plus Christians, to name a few examples. Well, yeah, there's first of all, there's no such thing as an LGBTQ plus Christian. And of course, any unrepentant alphabet person is not going, we will discriminate from the chalice because that's what our religion teaches. So what's so hard to understand about that? And for one, I have never espoused any sort of supremacy of the white race. I've never done that. So that's not something I've ever done on any of my content. Let's see. Radio Musician, thank you for the $5. And you should keep doing the different background thing. That would be cool. You keeping the beard or shaving it? I'm going to be trimming it soon. So, but of course I'm keeping the beard. But I do need to get a trim. This shows how wishy-washy politics is, right? What are you talking about, man? Just reading some of your guys' comments. Orthodoxy Chloroquine says, yeah, the left has only double standards. That's why they keep moving the goalposts and revising standards. It's all about power control. That's true. That's very true. Let's see. Back to reading. I think we should not be surprised by far-right extremism in the Orthodox Church. She's really a bad writer. Like, she's all over the place. I also think we should not be surprised to find white supremacists, monarchists, and fascists there. Historically, the Orthodox Church has been a rallying point for nationalism, and before that, for cultural identity. In the right hands, these can be used as weapons of blind loyalty. They have certainly been used as excuses to make outcasts of and even to kill non-conforming citizens. Parentheses. Michael Sisco himself admires Vladimir Putin, who makes use of some of these strategies. I don't know where I have made statements of Vladimir Putin. I've worn a shirt with Vladimir Putin's face on it as a joke. Vladimir Putin is a mixed bag. Geopolitically, my geopolitics generally fall in line, will align with a lot of Vladimir Putin's interest. I think that America's foreign policy interests and Russia's would serve better to help each other and tackle the problem of China, which is also a problem for Russia. And I think that maybe having a little less Russophobia and a little more cooperation and better relations with them would help us to actually engage the real threat to really the world. So things I don't really support with Putin. He's basically running the Russian government in an autocratic manner while still having the veneer or the illusion of democracy, which forces him to act and to do some things that I probably wouldn't do myself. However, he is a faithful Orthodox Christian, in good standing with the church. My confessor knows his confessor, and so I would be, as an Orthodox Christian, and this goes to, I don't know Lydia personally, but I generally hesitate to challenge the morality or going after Orthodox Christians is not something I enjoy doing, right? And I think you should be careful when we, even though, I understand Putin is a world leader. He's in a political position. There's always going to be that criticism there. But I think it would be tactful to keep in mind that he is a canonical Orthodox Christian in good standing with the church. And I know my confessor knows his confessor, and everything sounds like it's on the up and up. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Doorman, Biden does seem to want China to thrive. Jack Robbins says, as far as I'm concerned, Elizabeth II is Queen of North America. Declaring a republic can't change the fact that this continent was founded by a monarchy. Yeah, well, she's also not a valid monarch. So, and in the UK is completely cucked. So, I may be a bit of a Jacobite. So there is no valid monarchical line right now in power in the UK. So, but anyways, Lydia goes on. This is really interesting that she would ask this. What Orthodox Christians need to decide for themselves is what the church is. What behaviors will and won't believers tolerate in their communities, and how will they resolve these conflicts? Well, funny that you should ask, Lydia, because one thing that we won't tolerate is unrepentant sodomites. We won't tolerate LGBTQ whatever plus advocacy or propaganda in our church. We won't tolerate the usual blasphemy coming from your website. And I know you also said, how are we going to resolve these conflicts? Well, I realized that I haven't quite finished my last petition, and I still need to send those to the Synod of Canonical Bishops. We do have over 1,000 signatures, but you know, this is how we are going to resolve this conflict. We are going to start another petition to our bishops, and I think this one will get more than 1,000 signatures. We are going to petition the bishops, and if you write for Orthodox in Dialogue and you aren't excommunicated from the Orthodox Church, you will be. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to petition our bishops to excommunicate anyone associated in a positive manner with Orthodoxy and Dialogue. So, and we have been archiving and collecting statements that are contrary to the faith that have been published on your website. I made a call out to my followers last week. I have a ton of emails with just blasphemous statements published on this despicable site. And so we will be including that in the petition, and we will be collecting signatures from Orthodox Christians from all around the world. And we will be bringing that to the attention of all of our bishops, and we will be getting all of you excommunicated if you are even in good standing. So I know some of you are, and I think there's a priest involved too, which I don't need to get into that because there's been a recent article about him. So I think that he'll be taken care of as well. So I don't think, I know Michael Witkoff has his thing, so I'm sure that he will like to be involved with this petition as well. But anyways, she closes with, let's see where we are. Let's check the chats one more time. Ray says she needs to find a man. I don't think we want really any man to have to deal with that. Tatiana, why is she even Orthodox? Oh, and good evening, Tatiana. Good to see you here. Wow, been streaming for an hour. Holy crap! That went by really fast. Wiglaf the Gronlander says, yeah, they were like the goblins. They believed they were chosen by God and used that as justification for what? What are you talking? You're trying to get me in trouble, Wiglaf. Trying to get me in trouble. Please don't get me in trouble. But yeah, these people are, for whatever reason, they want to be. They feel like the need to. Well, they're Orthodox because they're not Orthodox. Let's be clear, but they take on that identity because it's called leftist entryism. This is what leftists always do, and really, it's really what Satan always does. It's what evil always does. Since we've had this happening since the beginning of the church with pretty much every heresy, with the Arians, the Gnostics, the Marcionites, the Monophysites. There's always heretics trying to operate within the church, but reform our teaching away from the Orthodox teaching, away from the tradition that was passed down from Christ and the apostles and affirmed by the early church fathers. So this is no different than that, except they've created progressivism itself, and really all of these leftist forms of political ideologies, they all take on a religious nature to them. So as a religion, they proselytize. And so that is why they're basically proselytizing their religion to try to influence and basically align our beliefs with their religion, which isn't a formal religion, which is why it has the ability to kind of be a chameleon and take the outward appearance of Orthodox. The smells and bells, they like the liturgy, they like the incense. I think even in the article with Real Med White, with that transgender that wrote the article that he was reading, talked about liking loving the incense in church. And so, because the leftist religion, it is exactly that. It's a religion. They're proselytizing, and they're proselytizing us by subversion, right? So, and that's just the work of the evil one. That's how the serpent is. They always want to have a veneer of truth, which is, if you really think about it, the most effective lie is one that has a little bit of truth that you can verify. And then that gives credibility to the rest of your lies. And so then the people just believe it. So, I mean, she said stuff that's actually true. Like the QAnon stuff is crazy. Crazy. I know I have some viewers that may be QAnoners. I don't know. I have some friends. They get a little, and I love them. I like them. They're generally good people. They're conservatives usually. So I don't want to alienate people I may disagree with on the QAnon stuff, but I think she does mix some truth in with her lies, which for people who are retarded might believe her. So, and she ends with the dumbest statement of them all. She says, "I will close with an inconvenient fact. White supremacists are the #1 domestic terror threat in the United States today, according to a recent report by Homeland Security. It may well be the #1 threat to the Orthodox Church in the United States as well." This this is so stupid. First of all, these agencies are tools of the left at this point. We all know that of the FBI. It's being weaponized to target conservatives. But I was gonna pull up the actual study that they were referencing, but I decided that it's not even worth it because it's just dumb. You can Google it, you can look it up. What it comes down to is what is terrorism, right? Terrorism is a word. Terrorism itself is a political term because it is used to describe political violence that one opposes. But there has to be, I know there's a kind of a cliche term that basically says, I can stop the screen share for now. It basically says that, is Brother Augustine here? But anyways, for what's that cliche I'm trying to remember? Oh, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, which means that there's a level of subjectivity that is always going to be there with the word terrorist, right? Because you're basically making a value judgment, a devalue judgment. You're saying that this person's political violence is not justified, and therefore it has the label of terrorist. And as you see, I mean, you can just look at, I know Wiglaff just mentioned the left burning down Minneapolis, right? And James Fields, defending him, running away from a guy with a rifle and not even hitting Heather Heyer, but giving her she has a heart attack after he drives into the crowd. That's a terror threat, right? So basically, it is a term that is applied to political violence that, well, now it's being applied to not even violence. It's being applied to, just being in the wrong place. But yeah, I don't, it's a political term used to describe political violence that isn't approved from a ideology that is not approved. And so when they're classifying, but they're not even using it with this study in the way that we used it with people like Islamic terrorists, for example. Yeah, I know, Ray. The lighting is. I even tried to fix it. I moved it, and I did a whole different setup, and it still didn't work. Which is why I changed the background, because it looks, I figure I'll at least make it interesting since it still sucks. But anyway, with this study, basically what they're doing is anytime a white person commits a violent crime, they're labeling that as terrorism, white radicalism, extremism, white supremacy. And so they're projecting something, an ideology onto the criminal, the violent offender. And so any white person that commits a violent crime involving the death of maybe more than 3 or more people, that in and of itself is a white terrorism. So they're projecting what they want to happen onto the circumstance, and that's what this study does. So you have to look at what are they defining as a white supremacist terrorist threat, and they don't even give you a definition in the study. So right there, the study's invalid. It's not a valid study. I've seen the study. I should really post it. I'll try and find it and put it on my Telegram and Gab later. But if we did this with another demographic who commits more crime, well, it would be a different story if we called a certain demographic terrorist for every violent crime they committed. If we were to project a political ideology and motive onto them, well, that would be a different story. And I know Ray the Musician is saying, "Stop it, Michael." And I think I will. I won't throw any numbers out there, like I won't throw any certain percentages, like 14% minus 1%. That might equate to 51% plus 1% of violent crime, and we won't call them terrorists because so. But yeah, remember these Turks. So Doorman, I don't know what numbers you're talking about. I put them on the screen, but I don't want to get demonetized like Ray says. But FBI's own statistics, they don't indicate, white people being a big threat. So yeah. But anyways, any more comment? That's all that hour went by super quick. I see Brother Augustine was here. What did he say? Oh, there he goes. Michael Fuentes is a threat to society. That's awesome. Nice haircut, Brother Augustine. That's good stuff right there. Orthodoxy chloroquine. Yes, I will let you guys know when the petition is ready. They do need to draw the line in the sand and clarify where the truth is. I mean, we don't need clarification, we know, but we do need them to have the courage to stand for the truth and to espouse the truth in a courageous manner and to, get this poison out of our church. So, I thank you, Tatiana. I appreciate it. I am going to trim it soon, but I hope you don't get upset by that. Anyways, that's all I really. Yeah, we do, Grug. We really do need our leaders to publicly acknowledge the truth. That is what we need. Are any of our parishes still shut down? Yeah, some of them are. So, but anyways, it looks like our biggest. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out who our number one contributor. Looks like Radio Musician was our number one contributor on Entropy tonight. So Radio Musician, next week you can come on the show no matter who the guest is if you want for about 10 minutes. So I'll message you offline. I have your contact on Telegram, so we'll get in touch. But I appreciate everyone watching. Stay tuned next month. Huge news. And yeah, Radio Musician, you have to come on next week. So I'm trying to think if I have any more announcements. But stay tuned. There's big news coming next week. And I think all of you will be pretty pumped about it. So not next week, next month. So it's big. I'm excited, and I can't even say what it is. So, but follow me on Gab. It's at Michael Sisco. Follow me on Telegram, t.me/themichaelsisco if you aren't already. I am boycotting Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I'm also on VK, which I think is I have a public page also at it's vk.com/themichaelsisco as well. So go ahead and follow me on either. You can even send me a friend request if you want on VK, which is Michael Sisco. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Actually, the show's on Friday next week. Tatiana, I am still on MeWe only because they won't let me delete it until my subscriptions are over. So I plan to delete MeWe because the owner of MeWe is a liar. He is a big Democrat donor, even though he's running around claiming to be libertarian. He's really just he donated like thousands to the Biden campaign. So yeah. Anyways, I look forward to seeing you guys next Friday night at 9 p.m. We have Shekinah Hollingsworth, who is an America First candidate, based mulatto, an America First candidate running for the Maryland House of Delegates. So look forward to that'll be a fun stream. Not the normal night, but we shall see you. Warren Heiss, what's the platform to be on? You know, I'm kind of liking Gab and Telegram. I really like Torba, and I might actually talk to him soon. So he might play a little bit of a role in my announcement that is coming up next month. So everybody get on Gab. I only have going from Twitter with 1,000 followers to Gab, and I only have 103. You know, we need more people, and I need more Gab followers. So, yeah, I like Gab and Telegram. VK is I have some issues with it, but yeah, Ray says don't spoil it. Ray, you already know actually, so you don't spoil it. Don't spoil it for anybody. So, anyways, see you guys next Friday night.